So the big question is this: how are real estate investors who don't have a ton of free time, don't have access to off-market deals, and didn't start life on third base, how do we grow a real estate business conservatively to support our families, finally leave the corporate rat race, and build a legacy? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. I'm Ed Matthews, and this is Real Estate Underground. This is the Real Estate Underground podcast show number 55. Hey, everybody out there. This is Ed Matthews. Welcome to the Real Estate Underground podcast. Today, I have a unique and different guest than we usually have, which I'm actually really excited about. So not only is my friend Nelson Morris here a wholesaler extraordinaire, and we're gonna get into that, but also he himself is a podcast host, and he's the host of the A True Preneur podcast based out of Houston, Texas. And Nelson, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to see you, my friend.
Thank you for having me. As I was telling you earlier, you are my first person to invite me onto their podcast. So thank you so much. I hope that I can add that value and make it worth it for your listeners. And also kind of just talking to you earlier, just you kind of give me some free game. I really appreciate it, because getting into this business, I just love meeting great people.
Yeah, well, thanks. It's a pleasure to meet you too, Nelson. And so for those of us who don't know who you are, why don't you talk through your story and what you do and how you make your living?
Yeah. So my name is Nelson Morse, and about 3 years ago, I left my six-figure job at Google, and I decided I'm going to jump headfirst into real estate. My first full year in real estate, I was able to do a little over $700,000 in transactions, with got me a net worth of little bit under $1 million. And that's mainly in assets, but it's just cool to say and think that you could do that in your first year. Right. And so from there, I've been doing that full time for the last few years. And now I'm, as you get into this business, you start to run it. And I have not scaled my business to a point where I'm fully out of it, but I'm comfortable in life. And so now I've got the time on my hands, and I really want to bring my financial freedom journey to other people through my podcast. And so that's what I've recently been working on. And so those are my things in life right now is financial freedom. How can I bring that to other people? Right. And also continue to grow my real estate career, because I'm not a giant. I'm not doing, $1 million a month or anything like that. But I'm very accessible to people, and I want to get them to a point where I'm at least, because I think it's good. Well, congratulations. Let me tell you a secret. I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm not doing $1 million a month either. So it's all good. Okay. So, thank you. I feel good. Yeah. And, here's the thing. It's not a race, right? Yep. You go at your own pace, and, as a fellow technology, a recovering technologist, I applaud your escape from the Silicon Valley world. I spent about 25 years there. So, okay. And nice. I loved every minute. I can't say I loved every minute of it. I love most of the minutes. Fair. And it's funny, I was talking with a mentor of mine, a guy by the name of Peter Black, who I hadn't talked to in a while, and too long, as a matter of fact. And I told him that every once in a while someone will call me and say, "Hey, are you interested in?" And I don't even let him finish the sentence. I say, no. Let me be clear. Thank you, but no. I know exactly how it goes. Funny enough, so I come from the world of HR and recruiting. Yep. And so it was just last week, I got a recruiter that reached out to me and was like, "Hey, I really love your resume, your background. Would you be interested?" Ma'am, I don't even want to lie to you. I can send a person or two your way, but I'm not living that dream right now. I've switched gears. And I love the way you put it. I'm not living that dream. So let me ask you, obviously you're a smart guy. You've worked for, you're a hitter. You worked at Google, for God's sake. So I know you're smart. That's right. So you could probably do anything you wanted in this world, right? And so I'm curious what drew you to real estate as an asset class and a business. So, you're going to put those big words out there like Google and sound smart and these things like that. I want people to know I am the everyday, normal, average guy. And a lot of the things that may come out of my mouth are going to sound probably the opposite of how, if you watch the Max Maxwell, Jerry Norton's, probably if you got into real estate wholesaling, the side of things, how these guys sound. Anybody that knows me is my goal is to make the most amount of money doing the least amount of work.
Smart.
And so that's how I've always thought. I've always tried to start businesses over the years, and I hadn't been successful, and that's for myself and a number of reasons. But real estate was the first thing that I could see the today money, the later money, and the retirement money, my way in and my all the way through my way out. And I saw it in a sphere where it wouldn't take me 60 years, 35 years to do so. And so if you want, I can kind of give you my whole story of how I got into it. It's
I would love that.
Yeah, me and my wife were living in a neighborhood that's 10 feet away from the neighborhood that I'm in now. Yep. But we had decided we were going to sell that house and get a bigger house. We want to expand and eventually start a family. And so in the midst of selling that house, I had never, I thought about real estate, but I had also thought of a lot of things. I was just the average go to work person every day. And so in the midst of doing that, I had a friend of ours, his wife was going to sell our property. That experience ended up going so, I don't want to say horrible, but it ended up being such a hard fight to get that house off my hands. And this is before pre-COVID, that I started like understanding, why is the closing so difficult? Why is this, and that? So we were 2 days away from closing our house, and they called me up and said, hey, you need another $13,000 to, close on yours. And you've probably had this experience just in the real estate in general, whether you're buying or selling. And I got so furious because at the time I'm not investing. So I'm like, why do I need this? Why couldn't they come up with this? So what I did was I got on internet and online and just started looking up closing. Why is it like this? And typing up so much things. And in the midst of that, I found some of the things in investing. And I guess I should rewind. When we decided to sell our house, I had made an executive husband decision that luckily I got away with. Ooh, I told my wife.
You're gonna tell me all about that, because I've never gotten away with one of those.
It was you only get like probably 3 of these the whole career, right? So of marriage. I was like, hey babe, we're saving money. We're going to sell this house. It had sold quicker than we thought. So I said, well, I'm going to live at home with my mom. You'll live at home with your family. We'll do that for X amount of time. So that was the executive decision I made, because we just lived in different parts of the town. Yeah. So while I'm 30 something living back at home, which isn't necessarily ideal, although I love my mom, love you, Ma.
Well played.
I was in my room all day just watching videos. And so when this closing thing happened, I just switched videos from like whatever I was watching to real estate. And that's what opened the door for me to start seeing some of these videos. And as I started seeing them, I come from recruiting. Recruiting is getting on phone, cold calling people, seeing if they want your job, finding out why they're interested in leaving their job, then getting them, hopefully pitching them and bringing them there to your career. If you're a software engineer and you're on LinkedIn, you probably got millions of these messages from me and other people. Real estate wasn't too much different. I thought, you know what, I can do this. And so the first week that I kind of found investing, I just picked up the phone and started calling people and thought I was going to make a deal happen that week. And so that was my first kind of glimpse and entrance into real estate. And then the journey would begin before that first deal. But and there's a couple other things that happened, but that was really it. I thought I could see the vision. I'm already have this skill set of cold calling people and talking to them. Let me see if I can take that skill set and put it into real estate. Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, the fact is that, whenever I talk with folks that have, don't have your experience and have been doing, haven't been doing this for a little while, is, to drive home. We're in the marketing business, right? And you got to drive, you got to create relationships. You have to create awareness. You have to become friends with them. You have to, serve them so that you earn their trust over time. And then you get to do business with them, right? I mean, that's
very true.
That's true in technology. It's true in HR, or it's true in recruiting. And it's absolutely true in our business, right?
Definitely true. Relationships in this business, they're going to be the most important thing. And again, I think if people who are wanting to get into real estate, if they separate the fact that homes are $1 million homes, or it's all this paperwork that goes into it, or it's closing, or I need $1 million to start. If you break it down into the career mindset, most of the people I know who have great jobs at great companies, it's 50% of what they know and maybe a 90 to 100% of who they know. And that's so relationships that drive. And that's the same thing in real estate. You know, if you don't have money to get your foot in the door and do a deal, whether it's 100,000 or a million, get out there and network until you find it. And once you find it, you will realize money is the easy part of this business. It's the relationship and genuine relationships that are really going to take you to the next level. So, yeah, it's just sales. I was talking to a guy the other day, you know, it's sales and marketing. And I told him, you know, wholesaling is a good paying job that you can scale up should you choose. And it starts with sales and marketing.
Right. And that key word you used is so important. Genuine, right? Yep. You actually have to build a relationship. It's not a transaction. It's a relationship.
It is a relationship. I have a buyer that I work with who's he's really cool, and I probably will tell the story a million times just because it's cool to me. He's a pilot and for a big company, and we have built a relationship where he's my buyer, but if I can't buy it, he'll wholesale it for me. We'll split the fee, and if for some reason I can't wholesale it or his buyer can't buy it for a month, he'll buy the property from me just to get me paid. He'll sit on it and then he'll sell it to the guy down the road, or he'll fix it up himself. But we have such a relationship where, and awesome. It's virtual, it's in a different state. So I'm not worried about, is he going to steal it or any of those things? I think a lot of people, when they get into this business, they think people are going to steal their deals. That will happen. But as we've been talking, the only reason that's going to happen is because you don't have relationships in place. And so once you have those things in place, you're going to find that, man, people will go not over and above, but people will make sure that you're taken care of as they would like to be. And it's a game changer for you. And having one good relationship with, whether it's a buyer, seller, whoever it is, it can literally change your business to where you can be in that market, and that can financially stabilize you to help you get growing. So, and that's just off of one relationship.
So true. Yeah. And, you know, the thing is, you want to surround yourself with people like that, right? I mean, you want to work with people who are coming from a place of abundance, not from a place of, hey, I'm going to get over on you. Right.
Yeah.
And because the fact is that, you know, the wholesalers that I work with, the brokers that I work with, I mean, heck, the attorneys and accountants I work with, I've done deal after deal after deal after deal with them over, you know, gosh, it's been 12, almost 13 years now. Right.
Nice.
And the team that I work with today, a lot of them are the team members that I met, you know, back in 2011. Right.
Awesome.
So
awesome.
And, you know, fortunate, right. But, you know, there also have been some stinkers along the way that we no longer, you know, of whom we never speak ever again, but that's okay.
But you know what? That's why we're in the real estate business, because we're houses don't have voices. I forget, somebody had a saying that was similar, but you know, houses don't have feelings. So unfortunately, I've been in the recruiting business, and I can't tell you how many times, you know, not good, but I've hired somebody and they don't show up the first day of work. And, you know, this is like a real life $100,000 job, and they just don't show up for whatever. So, you know, people are people, and we can't fault them for being humans, but at least houses, they don't have feelings. So when we're on this side of the table, you know, we're trying to deal with the homes, not the people as much, but it's all about people. So don't let me say that. I guess that could get taken out of context, but
houses, well, it's definitely about people. But, you know, when you're talking about the asset itself, it's just nails and wood, right?
There you go.
And so, you know, you've got to do right by your partners and the people you're working with, but because that's how you build a reputation and a brand. But the fact is that while the house that you live in, the house that you have memories in, the house that you share with your family, there's a lot of emotion there. For an outsider, that's, you know, someone that's looking to acquire or sell that building. It's just a building. Right.
There you go.
I always joke with people that I feel like you know, I'm in the apartment business. Right.
Okay.
So and they're like, well, what do you see when you look at a building? And I said, I feel like it's the Matrix, because all I see is numbers. That's all I see. It's one big spreadsheet to me. That's it. You know, and yes, there are human beings that live there, and yes, we're going to take very good care of them. And yes, we're going to fix that building up, make it clean and safe, and make it beautiful. But the fact is that it's just a building. And that's so
very true.
We're going to build a business in that building.
And that's the mind state you have to have. And so I would think if people are looking to get into this and they haven't done a deal yet on anything, if you're very people driven and oriented, that's awesome. It's going to help you get the sellers process started. But when you get on the other side of that and you're dealing with your buyers, you're going to have to flip your mindset, I think, to very business, because they're not going to, when you're trying to sell a property to a buyer, they're not going to be asking the questions of, is the buyer going to be ready to move this time or that time? They're not emotionally attached to it, and you may be emotionally attached to the buyer because they've given you their whole story. Right. So those are one of those things like you're talking about. You just see the matrix, so you have to be able to flip your brain off and on in this business, and because it's very personal. These are people's homes, like you said, that have 15, 20, especially when you start to deal with probate. So right. You have to know how to deal with people in this business. You have to be able to switch gears as well, though.
Stay with us. We'll be right back. A motivated seller just filled out your web form. If you call back within 5 minutes, you're nearly 4 times more likely to get that seller appointment. But delay your follow-up by even just 10 minutes? Forget it. You're toast. Ella Vista Connect calls that lead back in 60 seconds, qualifies them, and schedules your meeting. Find out how much slow follow-up is costing you. Free calculator at ellavista.com/underground.
Yeah. And be a human, right? I mean, you're talking about their memories and their life, and, human beings, the croc brain part of our brains, right? They don't like change. And so, especially when it comes to, a portion of that, it was Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Where, shelter is a really big deal. And you put on top of that, the fact that they need, people feel significant in their homes. They have excellent, beautiful memories in their home. That it's a lot of emotion, and you need to be sensitive to that. You got to be a human being, right?
Very much so. You always have to be able to put yourself in their shoes. And I think that's one of the tricks. Once you're able to do that genuinely again, right. It'll change the game for you.
So true. So true. So let me ask you, I mean, obviously, you've had your experiences with entrepreneurs in a whole bunch of different businesses. So what do you think separates, successful entrepreneurs from those who are just dreaming about doing what you do for a living?
I think what separates a successful entrepreneur is, and maybe it's what I see, what separates me is I always tell people I'm going this direction, and I'm going to start today. And it may not be perfect. And I'm probably going to have a lot of stumbles on the way there, but I'm going that way, and I'm going to do something every day to get me a little bit closer to that goal. And I think that's what, as an entrepreneur, one of the steps you have to have in you, because so many people, I think, I had a guy call me yesterday. They get to the part where they're like, all right, I'm going to open up an LLC, and I'm going to go get a business bank account, and I'm going to get my logo. I'll start working on the website. I'll start working on, my Facebook group page. Those are all the fun things that you can do for sure. And I don't discourage you to do them, but, you have to start talking to people in this part of the business. But in any entrepreneur business that you're starting, you're going to have to go out there and do the hard work. And then once you get the hard work going and you create a demand or whatever it is that may be in your business, then you can, for me, the way I do it is then I'll go back and I'll get the cool logo, and I'll go back and I'll do the LLC. I tell people all the time, I didn't have an LLC until I had $100,000 worth of deals. And that was just like, and luckily I had some big ones on the front end. Yeah. But for me, it was just about, let me get proof of concept. Let me see if this works, and let me see how long it takes, and let me work some of these things out. Then I'll go back and get a website, a logo, this and that. So I think as an entrepreneur, if you're going to do something, start putting in the work, get yourself a schedule. You're going to have to be organized. This isn't, This isn't like, small anymore. If you're starting a business and you're going to be taking in capital, and you're going to be buying homes or whatever you may be, you want to be organized. So get organized, set a game plan, make baby steps. They say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So do that, take that method, and then get started and go. And then I think come back to all the fun stuff. And so as an entrepreneur, I think what separates me is I will get in the car and drive forward. I might blow out a tire. I might run out of gas. I might do that, but I'll stop at a gas station. I'll get the tire fixed. I know how to change one. And at the end of it, I'll be at the journey. On the journey, I'll be at the in finish line where I wanted to go, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense. Yeah, you got to act, right?
You got to act.
You got, and it, someone like, me, the way my brain works is, I am prone to, let's get the logo right. Let's put the LLC in place and then we'll start transacting. And 6 months later, you haven't done a darn thing other than you have a nice logo, right?
Yeah.
And that doesn't feed your family. So, you're exactly right. You've got to, I've grown to become a huge fan of fire, ready, aim. Right.
There you go. Yeah. I like that one.
Just go.
Just go. Just go.
Do something. Move forward.
And you know what, though? If I think one of the things you have to do when you get into entrepreneurship or whatever you're going to do when you're going to step on your own is you've got to have a conversation with yourself and be 100% honest. If you know that you're going to get the logo and do everything right, and in 6 months you're going to try and call 10 people that don't pick up and you're going to wrap it up, be upfront with yourself and set a goal for yourself to make sure you overcome that hurdle. But I think that's what so many people put off doing certain things. And then when it comes down to doing the work, then all of a sudden they make a few phone calls, it doesn't work. And it's like, oh, this business doesn't work. But set yourself some goals. And I think you'll be surprised on what you can do.
I 100% agree with that. That's very wise. So let me ask you, it's obvious that you've had some really good experience. I'm also curious about, mentors in your life and the advice you've given. Or the advice you've gotten, that is. So what is, out of all the advice that people have given you over the years, what is the best advice and who gave it to you?
So I think the best advice is my father-in-law. He runs his own company and he's been running it for a while. And like I said, I've tried to do entrepreneurial things in the past, but they were younger me and weren't as serious. And he's been running his company. And one of the things that he told me is, whatever you do, don't stop your marketing. And when he kind of getting into this business, that didn't resonate with me because you get some money and you're like, all right, well, I need to do this, this, and this. And I'm going to try. And for me, I got some money and I was like, all right, now I need to flip a house because that's where even bigger money is. And I stopped marketing because now I've got some money and I can go do this and that. And
right.
Then you do flip the house and you make some more money. And then that deal's over. And then
right.
You're like, well, what am I going to do from here?
Right.
And so I went through that funnel a couple of times until me being stubborn, until it stuck with me. Don't stop your marketing. And so now I think the number one thing I tell people, if you're going to focus on real estate, is don't stop your marketing. If you get 100 leads a month, you will make X amount of dollars. I don't know what that is, but it should be a minimum of 5, right? So just don't stop your marketing and you'll be able to feed your family every month. And I think that's what resonates with me. And if somebody's looking to get in the business, don't stop your marketing.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Because the thing is that a lot of people, when they close that deal and they got that chunk of money, they think, okay, I'm done. Until the next mortgage comes, until you have to eat dinner, until the car payment comes along, right?
Yep.
And so what you want to do when you're in a business, there's a difference between doing a deal and running a business, right?
Very true.
And you're spot on in that. The fact is that what you want to do is create, level or growing revenue, right? You don't want revenue to go up and then down and then up and then down and then up and then down. It's a hard way to run a business, right?
It's stressful too. So yeah,
it sure is.
It's stressful. So consistency, I think, is key in whatever you're doing, and especially in your business. You have to get a consistency, because with that, I think consistency, it breeds confidence, because it's now not, I know I can do it, but like you're in a business mode now. So it's like, it's not about can you do it? It's about can you do it over and over again? So I think once you hit a consistent level, then you're confident to go put more money into this, or more money into your marketing, or maybe into your website or the LLC, or hiring an attorney full-time, because at least I'm consistent. Right. So I think that's in consistency. I think in this business comes from making sure you're always marketing.
Yep. I couldn't agree more, and that comes from Marketing Geek. So yeah, right on. So one of the things that I've learned over the years is that leaders are readers, and so reading these days, is a little bit different than it was. Now I'm like 400 years older than you are. So,
Oh no, never
back
that.
then back then they had these things called books. I don't know if you guys know anything about that, but, but the fact is that, people take in information in a lot of different ways now, Audible books or, audio books, obviously reading the real thing, reading documents online through your Kindle or on your desktop, even podcasts and YouTube videos. So I'm curious, as a entrepreneur, what are you paying attention to these days? How do you consume information, and frankly, who are you paying attention to?
That's a good question. And I would love, as I'm going through this world of podcasting, and maybe we'll talk about it again on when we talk again, is I would love for you to give me a book that you would suggest. So I've read the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and that's kind of where my booking has stopped. And there's other books that I've seen. I think Traction is one that I've always wanted, because now I'm getting into running a actual business with people. So I think that might be my next one. But I think podcasts have really given me a lot of information. I literally watched something with Gary V, whether I know some people do or don't like him. I just saw a clip the other day and he was talking on there, and it just opened my mind to ideas of things I should do. So I've been taking in a lot of information that way. I think books are great. I just haven't been on them as I should. I recently got married, so that's my excuse. I got married recently, so I've been busy man. But I need a new book to read. But I've taken a lot of information through podcasts, through things I may read online. People that I'm paying attention to right now, I've always kept up with probably the stereotypical Pace Morby's, Brent Daniels, Max Maxwell's. These are the guys that got me to the dance, and so I like to stay in tune of what they're talking about that's going in the market. There's a big guy that's out here in the Texas area, and I can't think of his name right now, even though I have some of his information. But he does like a quarterly, not a quarterly. He does like a monthly where the business is right now. So I'll pay attention to him, and I can't think of his name right now. I really should have it.
It's all good.
But so I pay attention to those things and try to fix those to my market and how I see and how I'm going to do my business. Yeah,
it's amazing. I've having now been doing this podcast for over a year. I've really gotten into podcasts. I really, obviously I'm a huge reader. I'm, former English major, so I challenged myself last year to read a book a week, and that was really hard.
Nice.
I didn't do it, but but I did read 28 or 29 books last year.
That's good.
And and that is either reading or listening to the book, which is a lot of what I do. But the thing that I'm always I'll read anything, right? Or I'll listen to anything. I'll watch any video. Because the fact is that I'm just looking for that one gold nugget. Right. And it may be in the first chapter, it may be, 30 minutes into the video. But, there's always something that you can learn from, other people. And, just because of their own life experience, their own perspective, is different than yours and different than mine. Right. So they're going to, I'm a big fan of Gary V. I don't really care for him, but I think he's really smart. And I've really enjoyed learning from him. Right. But I got a whole list of books and podcasts and videos and all that. And one of the reasons I asked the question of you and my other guests is I'm looking for ideas. Right.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
I want to, it's selfishly, that's the reason I ask, is because I really want to know what you're reading, so that if I haven't read it, I can read it. Right. And so let's talk about a true preneur.
Yes,
and your podcast. So what is the goal of your podcast, and what drove you to start it? What inspired you?
So what drove me is that, now that I've got my company running and we're trekking along, is I have free time on my hand, right? And so with financial freedom, however you want to look at it, it provides you, I don't want to say free time as in you just don't have anything to do all day, but it allows you to put your focus where you want it to be. And so I think I would be doing myself a disservice if I wasn't working a 9-to-5 and I'm able to run my company and I didn't build anything that would be able to give back and give education and have an outlet so people can get to where I am. And so that's what A True Preneur is about. And so I always say things kind of weird and funny. And when I was thinking of the words entrepreneur, I thought like, I'm a true preneur, like I'm actually doing this. And because again, you need to have that confidence and know that you're actually doing this. And so this is the first business that I've had where I felt like I'm doing this. So I'm a true preneur. I'm not just talking about it. We're making income. I'm sustaining a household.
Yep.
So that's where the name came from. And really the goal on there, and it's not just through real estate, but really the goal I have on there is to talk to people like yourself that have gotten to a place where they're able to kind of do what they want with their time and run their company. And I really want to break things down if I can for people to show them how to just get started. My big thing lately, as I've been talking to people, is that depending on what kind of job you're doing, the average American, so not everybody's working at like maybe a Google or a Microsoft or these things, but the average American, I believe $5,000 a month would change their life. So whether they keep the job they have now or whether they leave their job and they focus on this. And within wholesaling, you probably know that's literally just like one deal a month, which is not a crazy thing to go after if you're doing it full time and you're putting in the work. And if you're doing it as a side hustle too, I think it's still very accomplished. It's a goal that you could really hit. So with the Truepreneur, I just really want to open people's eyes to look, whether you keep your job or don't, I wanted you to understand you can actually get out here and give yourself $5,000 bonus every month and change your life. And then decide if that's good enough for you, if you want to grow your business, if you want to leave it there. But I want people to see that, when you go on YouTube, I think, it is the way of the world, but you see the biggest names that are doing the greatest in their business and they've earned it. So nothing to take away from them. I want people to see that there are people who are not, I don't have a Lamborghini, I don't have Ferraris, I don't have these things, but I'm happy.
Right.
I'm paying my bills. I'm living my life and I'm not like, in a bad predicament. So I want people to know that you can do that. And $5,000 a month to the average person, I believe, can change their life where they can have the same feeling. And that's not asking them to jump crazy amount of hurdles. So that's kind of the goal of the podcast is to really show people and let them hear and talk to other people that are in their careers and working that, you can be here as well.
That's awesome. That's really inspiring. And I wish you well. And I'm really excited to not only listen to your podcast, but also to eventually be on your podcast someday. So
yes,
that's all right. So when not talking about the world of podcasting and wholesaling and real estate in general, what do you like to do? How do you spend your time?
That's awesome, man. So, again, I'm newly married.
So well played. I was going to jump in there, like talk to you about your wife, talk about your wife.
There you go. Yeah. So, I'm hanging out a lot with my wife. This summer was busy. We got married and we went on our honeymoon and our vacation and did a lot of things. But I'm one of those people that I'm truly happy in my marriage. And so when me and her hanging out, we like to do comedy shows. So we flew to LA this summer and we watched Dave Chappelle in LA in the Round Rocks. Yeah, it was awesome. She did that for my Christmas gift, I think last year, or my birthday gift. I'm not sure, but we like to see a lot of the comedy shows. So we'll go to the comedy thing down here. We like to go see open mics. So we like to see people sing and do music. Yes. So I guess before I got into real estate and before I even got into corporate America, I did music production for a number of years. And I always thought that was going to be my dream. So I have an affinity for music. I love it. So we like to go out and watch music and shows, comedy. We like to go to the movies and check out new things, hang on the couch. We like to travel a few times during the summer. But honestly, outside of that, I hang out with a lot of the guys that I grew up with in like elementary school. So a lot of core friends, I'll hang out with them. But if I'm not doing those things, I love just hanging out at the house with my wife, grilling and being, at peace in my home.
That's wonderful. Wow. That's great. So if people want to get in touch with you or find out more about you or find out more about your show, when or what is the best way to reach you?
So the best way to reach me right now is going to be on Instagram. And that's going to be at BBE_Banks. And you can reach out to me there. And there's a link tree in there so that I'll have my YouTube, my TikTok, some free contracts that we have. So people that are looking to get into wholesaling, we have some free contracts, purchase and sell side of things on there. And so that's how they can reach me. And I meant to say before, some of the things I like doing is going to the baseball stadium. So if I am out there by you, I'll have to Connecticut. Do they have a team? They have a team out there.
Yeah, you're either a Yankee fan or a Red Sox fan in this part of the world.
So if I'm out your way, I'll have to come out that way. I got to check out all the
tickets and dogs are on me, man. Come see me. That'd be great.
There you go. But yeah, that's how people can find me. BBE_Banks.
All right. Well, if hopefully it'll be next summer when the Red Sox are terrible again and the Astros are about to win another World Series. And that'll be painful, but it'll at least be fun because we'll have a beer together.
There you go.
All right. Hey, Nelson Morris, thank you so much for your time today. It's truly been a pleasure, and good luck with the show, and obviously continued good fortune with your real estate business.
Thank you so much. And again, thank you for having me, and thank you for giving me some of your time as well. I look forward to speaking with you, and just again, big thank you. I'm excited.
Truly my pleasure.
Journey.
All right. This has been the Real Estate Underground Podcast, a Clark Street Capital presentation. Thanks for joining us. If you're enjoying the show, please remember to subscribe and share it with your friends. If you'd like to learn more about Clark Street Capital and our upcoming projects, please join our investor club at clarkst.com/join. Until next time, happy investing.
This has been the Real Estate Underground. Don't forget to subscribe. It helps us grow. Until next time, Undergrounders, remember your real estate journey begins with a simple step forward. Now get to it. Bye for now.